Good morning, everybody, and a happy Monday morning to you. I am taping still in Naples, Italy. Oh my goodness, the saga continues. There's even more news. I'm shocked by some of this, like truly shocked. So there's a lot. Let's just jump in and get busy, shall we? Let's go. We're going to start off, as always, with the fabulous Princess Royal, Princess Anne. She made a visit to the Royal College of Midwives National Conference in Birmingham, and she recalled her experiences of visiting services as patron of the RCM and meeting midwives from across the UK. Looking good, Anne. Also, a day or two ago, she visited a virtual reality exhibition at Gilbert White's House and Gardens. She met with school children who were exploring Antarctica through virtual reality as part of the tour by the United Kingdom Antarctic Heritage Trust. Looking good, Anne, looking good. All right, let's move on to the Duke of Edinburgh, who remains in Philadelphia. A couple of days ago, he spent the afternoon at the PYB Six Mans Center, which connects with youth, staff, and community. He joined a fireside chat with the Chief Mission Officer, Amin Akbar, and the former participant turned coach mentor Ashley, and teen entrepreneur Nasir Powell. He actually, they're saying, saw some murals that were painted by mural arts and artists, which was a tribute to women in sports. It's being reported that Edward was really inspired by the story of Nasir, who started a business and then started employing other youth right in his own neighborhood. And he left understanding what makes Bigger Than Basketball a place where young people feel seen and heard. Also, during the tour, Edward learned the non-traditional ways that they're educating young people there. And because of the work that they're doing, it's being reported that Edward hopes to make this organization potential partners for the Duke of Edinburgh Award, and that this will transform into better opportunities for kids that participate in the program, because the world is, a lot more connected than just the surrounding neighborhoods. I think that's an excellent idea. I love that. Good for Edward. All right, let's move on. Let's move on now. One of my subscribers pointed out that a warning from Netflix that somebody can't be criticized. And what they were talking about was the story I told you about a few days ago, where celebrity chef James Stocks was claimed that he got a legal letter for denouncing Meghan Markle's Netflix show. Remember, he claimed that he had been contacted by Netflix and he declined an offer to be on a show, and his comments against it have apparently seen him get a warning from Netflix. So what he's saying is that he got a lawyer's letter from Netflix after he spoke out against her, warning him. He said, I properly, blanked them off. Netflix didn't like it and they came after me. He says, how can she get all this money from Netflix? She can't cook and she shouldn't be teaching people how to cook. He did say that on the news. I remember reporting that to you a couple of days ago. Now, of course, in response to this, Netflix has denied issuing the legal warning for criticizing Meghan Markle, says they never did it. So what do I think is going to happen? I think that this guy's going to have to produce the letter to show that he's not lying. Ooh, this ought to be interesting. All right, let's move on. All right, let's move on to the interview again that Harry gave. They're saying that Harry's being on this show was like a Jeremy Kyle. Now, for those of you who don't know who that is, it's the UK's equivalent to the Jerry Springer show, if that gives you any idea, which I completely agree. I have to say, I think this interview was a huge mistake on Harry's part. GB News came out and, read some of the comments on air that people were giving to them. And they said, please, can you tell Harry for me? He's a whinging child and he's entitled. The sooner he's basically banished from royalty, the better. Oh, my goodness. Now, as if the interview wasn't bad enough, right after, Harry released yet another statement on the Archewell site where he says that he's going to be writing to the Home Secretary to ask her to urgently examine the matter and review the RABIC process. So his whole thing about how he's going to let this go because time is short, blah, 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 is a joke. He seems to have forgotten what a traitor he is. A big thank you to F off Harry for this list. I mean, my goodness, how much damage can one guy do to his own family? I personally believe Meghan wrote that statement or helped Harry write it. Because did you see the last sentence? If you strip away all the noise, you'll see all I'm asking for is safety. That is absolutely 100% Meghan's words. Now, as if all of that wasn't enough, Harry is also alleging that a committee said Meghan should not receive protection after she joined the royal family and would not have had any security if he had not intervened. Now, this was part of that letter that was shared to Sussex.com that you guys saw. Now, remember, I told you not to go to that website because they put cookies on your computer and they track you. And then, by the way, they sell your data for money. As if that wasn't enough, once again, he invoked Diana as he always did, and without naming names, he made a jaw-dropping claim related to her death, claiming that he had discovered some people want history to repeat itself, which is pretty dark, completely ignoring the fact that Diana had protection. She got rid of the protection. That is well documented. And with that, Princess Diana's former bodyguard, Ken Wharf, who was her personal protection officer in the 80s and the 90s, said that Harry, who insists on high-level security, he actually ordered a food takeaway and had it delivered to the home where he was staying. And he says, so here you let an unknown person approach a private residence with no proper checks, and it flies in the face of every precaution that trained professionals would recommend. You can't cry about being left vulnerable and then casually invite a food delivery person to the door. And a big thank you to Heather Louise on Twitter for pointing out that a documentary was just released a few months ago in 2024 on Amazon Prime comparing Diana to Meghan, how the two of them are in danger and they need security. Are you kidding me? Yeah. No. And if you look here, it says cast Princess Diana and Meghan Markle. Let's go back to the interview now. Before Harry's interview, a friend of King Charles pointed out it would have been, quote, constitutionally improper for Charles to intervene in the court case. And what has frustrated and upset Charles on a more personal level is Harry's failure to respect this principle, and for Harry's supporters to suggest that somehow Charles doesn't care about him or his family and should step in. And also the considerable resources and cost for the government to defend this position. What Harry seems to be forgetting is that when he said he wanted to leave, his family held his position and his family's position for a year. They had the Sandringham agreement. They warned him what was going to happen, but he just ignored all of it. Well, you guys remember when the Queen simply said recollections may vary? Well, Buckingham Palace also now has issued a terse response to Harry's interview with the BBC. And basically what they have said is, and I'm quoting, all of these issues have been examined repeatedly and meticulously by the courts with the same conclusion reached on every occasion. Now, the palace is not addressing the comments made by Harry regarding the relationship with his father, although that also has now become a thing. It seems to me that what Harry is doing is he hates his family, and now he wants to try to make everybody else hate his family as much as he does. Harry's memory seems to be very short. He seems to have forgotten the damage he caused as his grandfather and grandmother were actively dying. He's trashed his father. He's trashed his brother. He's trashed his sister-in-law who was battling cancer. I mean, really? Now, two things that Harry said in that interview. One of them is that his father's not talking to him because of the security stuff. That's not the truth. The truth is his father can't speak to him because the trust is gone in the father-son relationship. And he's well aware that anything he says might end up in a book or on the news. I mean, the article said it exactly. It's not like the king won't speak to him. How can you have a private and delicate conversation when you know it's going to end up on the news special within hours? Perhaps if Harry tried to earn rather than demand a reconciliation, things might go a little better. Now, something else that the Sunday Times reported is that Harry basically sees a conspiracy every time a decision doesn't go in his direction. He can't just walk away. Instead, he doubles down. And while he's speaking of reconciliation, he's lacing it with threats and anger. Now, the other thing is that Harry said, I don't know how much longer my father has, which is basically insinuating that his father is dying, which is not the message that the palace has been putting out. And once again, GB News said it perfectly.
And one of the key lines is him saying, "I don't know how much longer my father's got." And if he's breaking that sort of confidence, no wonder they're annoyed with him.
Yes, morning. Yeah, I think that line is the most damaging thing from the interview, really. And, in the short term, I think his decision to do that yesterday is going to make things worse. In the more medium term, I think there's possibly some hope for reconciliation. But saying that about his doesn't know how long his father's got left completely undermines the message that has been coming out from the palace for months now. And I have to say, it's a message which seems to be backed up by what we see in practice, that the king is getting better, that his recovery is going really well, and that his programme of duties is more or less back to normal. And that has completely undermined the palace.
Harry made a lot of scathing points. Now, one of these articles brings up 6 points, but there actually were more than 6. No way back to the UK? Yes, there is. Give a 30-day notice. Time for reconciliation? Not unless you stop threatening your family. Security is used as control? No, it's not. You were warned it was going to be pulled. I cannot escape being a royal? You can, actually. This is an establishment stitch-up, so basically you're saying that the government is doing what your father wants, and end of the road, but Starmer must step in. No, I don't think he's going to step in. But the comments about him forgiving the royals, I mean, are you kidding? People are so outraged by this guy. I completely agree. I completely think he's deluded. I don't think he knows what he's doing anymore. Now, in case you missed it during the interview, he actually did say that he served his country for 35 years. So basically, from the minute he was born, when Charles and Diana showed him off, he considers that he was working for the government. This guy is deluded. It's being suggested, and I've always said that the king might forgive Harry, because after all, Harry is his darling boy. But you can forget it when it comes to William and Catherine. When Harry said, "Of course, some members of my family will never forgive me for writing a book. Of course, they will never forgive me for lots of things," that would be William and Catherine, who will not forgive for the comments, the nasty comments that Harry made about them and their parenting. It seems to me that Harry is really sick in the head. Now, a big thank you to Megan on Twitter for pointing out that the room Harry was in where he gave his interview was the same room where the Parent Plus network, whatever, was, where they had that interview. So, of course, as everything is blowing up, Megan decides to put out a new picture of Harry with his children. They look pretty safe to me. And remember, this is supposed to divert your attention from what's going on. Because remember, Harry's a great dad, while it's being insinuated that Charles was not, which we all know by now is absolutely untrue. Charles was a very loving father who hugged Harry all the time, who held Harry's hand, who took Harry on bike rides, who took him skiing. He was a great father, although Harry seems to have forgotten all this. It has become very clear that the royal family, it's not that they don't want anything to do with Harry, they want nothing to do with Meghan. That's what it comes down to. And Harry had a choice to make. His wife, who has run him ragged and separated him from his family, and she's only worried about her personal ventures, or his family. He has a choice to make. He's made his choice. He's made his bed. Now he's got to lie in it. You guys know what to do. The link's down in the description box to my Twitter, Gettr, Rumble, email. There's an Amazon wish list. There's a link to my father's book, which is up for sale, and a link to my second channel where you'll find the videos on this trip to Italy, as well as all of my other stuff, as well as a physical address. For those of you who've donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.